Do you want to pass OET in 2025? Well, of course you do. So let's cut to the chase. Here's how you do it. Learn from your mistakes. Wait. I know that learning from your mistakes sounds simple, but let me explain. In today's class, I'll show you some of the biggest mistakes OET test takers make in each section of the test, how you can avoid them, and reveal to you how learning from your mistakes will help you pass OET in 2025. Before we get started, download the free E2 2025 OET study pack. It includes a test checklist, test overview, study plan, test tips, and bonus practice questions for each section. To download it, click the link in the description or comments. Let's take a look at the first section, listening, and one of the biggest mistakes that test takers make. In part A, B, and C of the OET listening test, you'll have to listen to audio and find the correct answer. But be careful not to select a distractor. Let's take a look at an example. So here's an OET listening part B question. It asks, you hear an optometrist talking to a patient who's trying contact lenses for the first time. What is the patient concerned about? And the answer options are A, his blurred vision, B, soreness of the eyes, or C, how to remove the lenses. So we've read the question and answer options. Let's listen to the audio and see if we can find the answer. Listen now.
Now, you've had the lenses in for a few minutes. How are they feeling?
Not bad. I thought I'd feel them actually touching my eyes, that they'd be sore or prickly, but I can't feel much at all. My eyes do feel a bit watery though.
It's okay. You've just used too much solution. Now, in a few minutes, I'll get you to try taking them out and inserting them again by yourself.
Had no trouble taking them out earlier, but I'm not confident about putting them in. I worry I'll press too hard.
That's unlikely to happen.
Things look rather distorted though. I mean, I can't make out the letters on that chart.
Any of them?
Those lower down.
Let's give things another minute to settle down.
How did you go? Did you get the answer? Did you notice the distractor? Let's now listen to the audio with the transcript on the screen. Listen now.
Now, you've had the lenses in for a few minutes. How are they feeling?
Not bad. I thought I'd feel them actually touching my eyes, that they'd be sore or prickly, but I can't feel much at all. My eyes do feel a bit watery though.
It's okay. You've just used too much solution. Now, in a few minutes, I'll get you to try taking them out and inserting them again by yourself.
Had no trouble taking them out earlier, but I'm not confident about putting them in. I worry I'll press too hard.
That's unlikely to happen.
Things look rather distorted though. I mean, I can't make out the letters on that chart.
Any of them?
Those lower down.
Let's give things another minute to settle down.
Okay, let's start with the distractor. Did you notice it or any? The first one is here early on. The patient talks about soreness in his eyes. This is a distractor because he says that the lenses feel not bad and that he thought they'd be sore. So he's actually saying they're not sore. This contradicts the answer option despite using the word sore. So answer B is wrong. Let's keep going. The optometrist then asks if the patient can try taking the lenses out and putting them back in again. And the patient says he's not confident in putting them back in. This seems similar to option C because it mentions removing the contact lenses. But notice that the patient is concerned about putting them back in rather than removing them. So this is also a distractor because the answer option is the opposite. So answer C is wrong. If we keep listening, the patient says that things look distorted and he can't make out the letters on the chart. This aligns with answer option A, his blurred vision. The word distorted means the same as blurry in this context, and although he doesn't state directly that he's concerned about this, we can infer that through his tone. So be sure to listen carefully before selecting the answer. Remember that you may hear words associated with the incorrect answers, and you may need to listen out for synonyms or paraphrases of the correct answers. Remember to get started with your test prep today by downloading the free E2 2025 OET study pack. Click the link in the description or comments. Let's now look at one of the biggest OET reading mistakes. In OET reading, A huge mistake candidates make is word spotting. They see the word in the text, then they see it in the answers and select it because they think it must be close enough. Wrong. Let me explain. So here's a reading part B question. It says, when cleaning the orthopedic ward, it is recommended that, and here are the answer options. Number 1, all duties must be carried out by a hospital employee. Number 2, the floor area be mopped entirely from front to back. And number 3, an area be cleaned more than once if necessary. Let's now read the text. It says, the cleaning guidelines of the orthopedic ward are particularly detailed and granular to ensure all rooms, hallways, and common spaces are as clean as possible. It is vital that any staff member cleaning any area pays close attention to the details of what he or she is cleaning. If an area looks as though it ought to be cleaned, it should be, regardless of whether it has already been tended to. Bed rails, phone handles and keypads, remote controls, tabletops and other surfaces, trash bins, and anything else that someone might come into contact with must be disinfected. When mopping the floor, mop backward in an S formation to make sure the entire area is covered. Furniture may be moved if necessary. Vents and other HVAC units should be dusted and cleaned, as well as light fixtures and ceilings. Let me show you how word spotting is a big mistake. Looking back at the text, I can see the word staff member. That's pretty similar to hospital employee. So I guess the first option is right? Wrong. If you read a little deeper, you can see the text says, it is vital that any staff member cleaning any area pays close attention to the details of what he or she is cleaning. The text does not specifically state that all duties must be carried out by a hospital employee, just that a staff member needs to pay close attention to the details. This would have been wrong. Now, if we look back at the text, we can see that it has a section on mopping backward in an S formation. Again, if you word spotted mop or backward, you might guess the second answer option. But again, let's look more closely. Does mop backward in an S formation to make sure the entire area is covered mean the same as the floor area be mopped entirely from front to back? No. So this is also not the correct answer option. Let's look at the final answer option and see why it is correct. Here in the text we can see, if an area looks as though it ought to be cleaned, it should be, regardless of whether it has already been tended to. This is the same thing as answer option 3. So the answer is, when cleaning the orthopedic ward, it is recommended that, number 3, an area be cleaned more than once if necessary. This answer is correct. The statement agrees with the text. So don't word spot. In each part of OET reading, make sure to read thoroughly and analyze the answer options. Let's now take a look at one of the biggest OET writing mistakes test takers make. Now, before we reveal the mistake, let's take a quick look at an example OET writing task, case notes, and response. So here's the task. It says, using the information in the case notes, write a letter to Mrs. Hannah Brown, head nurse at Jardins Nursing Home, 43 Agnes Road, Cornerstone, who will be responsible for Mr. Lynn's continued care at the nursing home. And here's an excerpt of the case notes for this task. It says, Mr. Anthony Lynn is an 82-year-old patient on the ward of the hospital where you are senior nurse. And we can see the admission date, reason for admission, social background information, and treatment. Now let's look at an excerpt of a test taker's letter. Can you see any spelling errors in this letter? How about grammar errors? What about spelling? And punctuation? Are you noticing what I'm noticing? That's right, it's a very well-written letter. Or is it? Actually, it has one fatal flaw. Take a second look and see if you can tell what it is. That's right, the letter doesn't really respond to the task. That's because the case notes that the test taker selected were irrelevant to the reader, and some key relevant details were missed out. And this is a huge mistake. Let's take a quick look at the writing task band descriptors. Under content, it says for band 7, You need to include key information and that no important information is missing. Also, you need to ensure no irrelevant information is included. A letter which includes information that the reader does not need to know and which misses information the reader does need to know is not going to score highly. So let's take a look at what the letter should have said. It says, I am writing to refer Mr. Lin, but this is not a referral letter. It's a discharge letter. This should say, I am writing regarding Mr. Lin. Then it says he was admitted to a hospital on 12th December, but the senior nurse at the nursing home would already know when he was admitted. She may not know the diagnosis though, which was a right patella fracture. That's much more important and relevant information. Then it says Mr. Lin lives at Jardins Nursing Home where he has resided for the past 3 years. But remember, this letter is to the senior nurse at the nursing home, so she will already have this information as well as all this other information about his social background. Instead, the nurse would need to know what treatment Mr. Lin received in hospital, like this. Do you see how this makes the letter much more relevant and informative to the specific recipient? Remember, the task will tell you who the reader is, so you need to read it carefully and make sure you follow it. Let's now take a look at one of the biggest mistakes in the speaking section. In the speaking section of the OET, candidates are often very focused on covering all parts of the task listed on the role play card, and that's completely understandable. However, that often results in candidates just telling information from the card to the patient, and this is a big mistake. That's because you're being assessed on your clinical communication skills, and that involves interaction with the patient. Let's take a look. As you can see, clinical communication is not just about information giving, it's also about relationship building, understanding and incorporating the patient's perspective, and information gathering. What do all of those skills have in common? That's right, interaction. And that means not just telling information to the patient, but having a discussion with them and asking them questions to hear what they have to say. After all, the appointment is about them, and we need to find out what they're experiencing and feeling. Take a look at this role play card. Do you think you need to ask an open or closed question here? Take a look at these two options. Which do you think is better? A. I understand that you were taken to hospital recently as you experienced severe abdominal cramps at work. I've come to check up on you. Can you tell me a little bit more about what happened? Or B. I understand that you were taken to hospital recently as you experienced severe abdominal cramps at work. I've come to check up on you. Can you tell me a little more about what happened? For example, when did the cramps start and how do they feel? Do you have any idea about what caused them? Well, B looks good because it covers a lot of details. But remember, this is the first question in the exam. While giving the patient a lot of prompts might feel like it's helpful, in fact, it's controlling the conversation, and you may miss something the patient would have told you if you'd given them more freedom to speak freely. So in this case, A is better. Remember, to build the relationship, learn the patient's perspective, and gather information. It's best to start with open questions that invite a longer response rather than closed questions that just invite a short answer, often yes or no. You can hone in on details by asking closed questions as follow-up, but asking open questions first facilitates better interaction. Let's take another look at the role play card. Of course, there are some parts of the task in which you need to give the patient information, but can you see any other opportunities for asking questions? That's right, it's here. Explore the ways the patient usually reduces stress. The word explore is suggesting we need to find something out, so this is another great opportunity for asking questions. So remember, pay attention to opportunities to ask questions in the role play and don't let it be a one-sided stream of information. If you keep it as an interaction, you'll have a much higher chance of getting the best possible score on test day. So, how can learning from your mistakes help you pass OET in 2025? As you've seen, these are just some of the most common mistakes test takers make. During your test preparation, you too will also make some mistakes, but that's okay. Make sure you take time to stop and improve so that you don't make that mistake again. Some of you may be thinking, I make so many mistakes, it's going to take forever to look at each mistake. Well, let me explain. Imagine you've taken an OET practice test and you only got half the questions correct. There's definitely some room for improvement. Now, it may seem like it'll take too long to go over all the questions you answered incorrectly to work out what went wrong for each. But imagine if you don't do that. You'll keep doing practice questions or take another practice test and get the same results, and you'll just keep going like that forever without seeing much of a difference. But if you tackle each mistake one by one, you'll be sure to improve, and that'll save you time in the long run. Now, if you're wanting to fast-track your OET test preparation and pass your test as soon as possible, head over to e2language.com and sign up to one of E2's OET courses, which includes practice tests, mock tests, live classes, tutorials, and more. And remember, if you're needing to get started with your OET test preparation, download our free OET 2025 study pack. It includes a test checklist, test overview, study plan, test tips, and bonus practice questions for each section. To download, click the link in the description or comments. And that's it for this lesson. Please let me know in the comments if you've made any OET mistakes before and how you can improve or have improved from them. Good luck with your OET preparation in 2025, and see you next time.